Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about Hershel's revenge and whether or not that will be actually something that does happen here. It's something that I think they're sort of hinting at through a lot of like the marketing and whatnot of season 2. And I don't think, I'll just say that like, first of all, I don't think that anything is going to happen in terms of Negan dying this season, but I could definitely see it happening, by the end of this series, especially if we are starting to see the very beginning of Hershel going down this darker path, because I think that for the character, it makes a lot of sense, especially based off of his comic backstory. And so, yeah, I want to talk about that and also get into some other random, really cool Walking Dead stuff at the very end of the video here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And also make sure to leave a like down below. That'd be super sweet. It'd be nice if we can get to like 500 likes or something like that. Like, that'd be pretty cool. But yes, Hershel's revenge on Negan. It's something that, I think going into season 2, I was really curious about, and I was wondering if they were ever going to go down a path like that for the character's story. And looking back to season 11, when Maggie actually came back to The Walking Dead, because in case you forgot, she was actually gone for quite a bit. When she came back and Hershel was there, I remember, talking about this too back then, like, would Hershel want revenge on Negan? And there were some really interesting, scenes there, I guess, in the very final season of The Walking Dead, where it seemed like, maybe something like that could happen. But I think Hershel was just too young and like just didn't understand anything, right? He didn't understand a lot of what happened in the past, even though he probably knows who he is. He didn't understand everything entirely. Like, he's starting to understand it right now. And I think this is why Dead City is a very interesting story for that whole just drama of all of that, is because Hershel is really going to be a big character in this series, because he's starting to become like a main character now, right? Like, he's not just one of the kid characters on the show anymore, because he is starting to grow up. And we saw a lot of that in the trailer, right? Like, we saw Hershel actually like disagreeing with a lot of things that Maggie was saying. And I think that he has a lot of issues with his mother right now, in terms of his mother just not really necessarily being there for him. And Maggie even admits it in the trailer quite a bit. Like, she wasn't able to be there because of Negan, because of the fact that whenever she sees Hershel, she thinks of him, right? And like, that is the biggest, like, I can't even believe Maggie said that. I feel like the trailer was cut up in a certain way where maybe it's not necessarily that. Like, maybe she more meant like Glenn instead. Like, I think that would be a way nicer compliment, obviously. Like, if your mom is telling you, oh, like, you remind me so much of the person that killed your father, like, you're not going to be that happy, right? Like, you would rather hear, oh, you remind me so much of your father kind of thing, right? So I think that, yeah, if the trailer wasn't edited in a certain way and Maggie actually said that, like, that is something that would be really hurtful, I would say, for Hershel, and makes a lot of sense as to why I think he's going to be getting a darker storyline. And this was teased, I think, early last year at some point when they talked about Hershel's story for season 2, which was, it was going to be more of a like darker storyline. And so immediately when you think about that, like, if it's a darker storyline, he's going to be more angry and upset. Is he going to be more of the villain in the story? I think that, I don't think so for season 2. I think for season 3, though, that could happen. And we might be seeing the rise of that arc right now, because in the comic, Hershel had a very similar story where we did see him after however many years. And again, we didn't really get to see a lot of it because that very final issue was just, it's just one issue. So you're not seeing a lot of what's going on with all the characters. Hershel actually had a pretty good part of that whole story there compared to a lot of the other characters, but it still wasn't a lot to like flesh out a whole entire arc, right? So Hershel was just a very frustrating, almost like he sort of expected the world to sort of do everything for him type of character, right? Like, I think a lot of people hated that. I really, like, I remember the reaction to it back then. I think people were so disappointed because he wasn't Glenn, right? And I think the thing that's really interesting about that, though, is when you look at the comic character of Maggie, she was almost kind of similar to the TV show version, but I would say she more focused on her career and really wasn't around for Hershel quite a bit. And she was the leader of the Commonwealth, and like, she was the leader of a lot of communities before that, like the Hilltop, right? And so I think she just sort of rose in ranks. She had a lot of responsibility, and she really focused a lot on that. And Hershel was just sort of around, right? Like, she was literally the president of the Commonwealth. So Hershel was the president's kid and kind of got everything he wanted, just sort of did everything. Didn't have a father figure in his life, and was just kind of, that's how he turned out, right? But I think the show is doing that a little bit differently here, where we do see Maggie as a leader, but she's not the same type of person as she was in the comic in the later issues anyways, where yes, she is focusing on being a leader, but she's not as busy, and she is a really great mother and she's always there for Hershel. I think that the difference here though is she is still haunted by what happened to Glenn, right? And the fact that Negan's around everywhere and just all of that, like the show is definitely taking it into a totally different direction here. So I think that's the differences with the characters here. And that's why we see with Hershel that he's not the same character as he was in the comic, but he's a lot more angry, right? And so I do think in the end, he will be a better person. At least I'm hoping so. Maybe he'll end up dying. I don't know. But I do think by the end, you know, he will see things a lot better and that all this will get resolved. Jeffrey Dean Morgan actually talked about something recently where it seems like Maggie is really going to finally like get over it. Like, I know it's such a crazy thing to say, like get over that. Like that's such a crazy thing to get over. But I think it's been like what, 10 to 15 years or something that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was saying since Glenn's death that it makes a lot of sense for her at this point to sort of accept it and move past it. And I think her and Negan are going to team up this season against a lot of the villains here. But I don't think Hershel is going to agree with that. So I want to get into some of that there. So if this is a 4-season series, we could start to see the start of all of this here this season with Hershel getting very frustrated with how his mother has dealt with a lot of the Negan situation, how much Negan has taken his mother away, and also just getting revenge for what he did to his father, because a lot of that might come up here. Actually, not even might. I feel like it's going to. I think Hershel's going to talk a lot about, like, I never got to talk to my father. I never got to meet him. Nothing. Like, all of that was taken away from me because of him. And I think there's going to be a lot of, like, Maggie's anger that maybe she had a long time ago she's going to see in Hershel, and maybe she'll be in a different place now where she's like, oh wow, I can actually see exactly, you know, that's how I used to feel. Should I even be feeling the way I'm feeling right now, or should Hershel be feeling the way I'm feeling right now, or like what's going on with all of this, right? And I think that's where he's going to want revenge on Negan, and I think that is going to be something that happens this season. I really don't see Hershel and Negan being like friends and on the same side at all in this series. I think maybe a little bit here in season 2 as the characters are sort of trying to figure out, you know, what's going on with the rest of the arc and everything. But I really do think that this is going to be a big part of season 3 and 4 as well. And also obviously in season 2 here. Now, I don't expect Negan to die this season, but could he die by the series finale? I think that is something that is quite interesting, because really the only reason why I would say no is because, well, like you want him to reunite with Rick, right? But if Rick does show up in Dead City, and there's rumors that he's likely going to, I don't know about this season, but in season 3 and 4, then like you already get that reunion out of the way. Like this could be the end here of the character. Like 2 years from now could be Negan's death. And maybe that's how all of this ends here, is Hershel actually gets revenge, right? It'd be a crazy thing to see happen. I think in a Q&A video, or someone actually commented this before, it wasn't my idea at all, but imagine if Hershel actually killed Negan in the same way that Sebastian killed Rick in the Walking Dead comics. Like, if that was actually what happened, I think it would be absolutely insane to see. But like, it's crazy when I think about the stuff that he's done, right? Like, I can't even believe that Negan is seen in a way where he's like a good guy now, because he killed Ginny's father, he killed Hershel's father. Like, there's just a lot of things that he's done recently, and he's just, it makes sense that all of these people would be mad at him. And so again, like, if everyone forgives him by the end, I just don't know if that's possible. Like, if anything, I really see it being something where Negan gives his life to save Hershel's life, basically. I think that is something that makes the most sense in all of this. Like, that could be where things are going, where Hershel is just so angry, so upset, and like, you know, he doesn't know what to do this, and that he wants to kill him, and maybe he gets to a point where he actually can, but something happens where, you know, Hershel could die, but then obviously Negan saves his life, and that ends up being something where Hershel maybe afterwards could sort of understand that after, right? Where I guess he wasn't necessarily a bad person overall, but then again, you have to look at it from Hershel's point of view. Like, is that more selfish for Negan to do, because him doing that is almost redeeming himself and not allowing Hershel to feel better about the whole situation, right? But then again, like, getting revenge in that way, I don't think it's going to make him feel better. And so Hershel, he's going to be really angry about a lot of stuff this season. The one thing I actually wanted to get into as well is it possible that we start to see Maggie versus Hershel. Like, is that going to be a thing this season? Because, I mean, Maggie's always going to be his mom, obviously, but I could definitely see, and you see it in the trailer, you see like this rift starting to happen between the characters here. And I think that that could be the start of it here, where we do see Maggie teaming up with Negan against Bruegel and New Babylon. And then Hershel, I mean, it depends on what side he would be on. He'll obviously join the group that wants Negan dead. So it could be New Babylon or Bruegel, but it really depends on which group is obviously, I would say, more in power and just like where the story goes this season. But I could see that being something that does happen this season and really would hurt Maggie quite a bit. And oh man, I think that this season is honestly going to be a really amazing season, and I can't wait to see where things are going to go here for season 3 and 4. I mean, is that going to be the end? Like, the Walking Dead universe filming mentioned that season 3 and 4 would likely be the end, but that was just the account's opinion. There was no confirmation on that. So maybe they just announce it as a season 3 and 4, but, you know, there's still more seasons. I don't think so. I think that it'll probably just be that. But, like, you never know. Like, maybe they actually just renew it for season 3, and that's it. There's no talk about anything else after that, right? So we'll have to wait and see. That event is actually happening in 13 days now on April 30th. So we're going to learn a lot of stuff there. The early reviews are coming out that day. And then like 4 or 5 days later is going to be the premiere, the season 2 premiere of The Walking Dead Dead City. So yeah, really exciting stuff here. I guess one thing that I will mention really quick is there's actually some new action figures out right now for Rick and Merle. I wanted to talk about that a little bit more in this video. Maybe if I can actually find some, I will do some unboxing videos because that'd be really cool. But yeah, just want to throw that out there. But overall, I do think that this season is going to be a very emotional season for that storyline. And I think we're going to explore a totally different, you know, side to this storyline that a lot of us have been wanting for a very long time. I think that was always the thing. When you go back to the season 7 premiere or season 6 finale, well, technically, I guess the season 7 premiere is when Glenn died. I think we've all talked about that. Like, when Hershel got older, would he want revenge on Negan, right? Like, obviously, if the character survived for that long, and he has, right? So I think looking at it now, it's like, is this actually going to happen now? And I think that we are going to start to see that storyline this season, and this is perfect. Like, this is exciting stuff. This is exactly what you want from the story. You can't expect him to just be totally okay with it. Like, you really can't. And so for Hershel to potentially have this storyline here this season, I'm so excited. Honestly, I think that he could be one of the best parts here of season 2. So post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.